The main problem with the plastic is that it is coming into the ecosystem, but it is not going away. It is not degrading. It is not giving something to something. It's just most of the plastic is single use, and that is one of the major problem with plastic we have.
Go to any village and you will find that the water bodies are a common dumping ground for all the plastics, for all the waste actually which is coming from the village that is gradually being dumped into the water bodies, for example, or the open spaces of the green area. The green areas are becoming shrunken. The water bodies are in problem, affected by the plastic. The water actually, even the farm soil that has micro plastics which are available. So how are we going and how far will we go? There has to be some stop.
People have preserved these traditional practices as an alternative to plastic in this time as well.
We revive these practices like biomanures, biorepellents, the biopesticides, the range of things actually which are available. And in the country, number of places actually these are being practiced, successfully practiced, used by the farmers.
Hello and welcome everyone to Planet versus Plastics podcast series brought to you by Earth Day Network India. I'm Ramit Walia, your host for this insightful journey into a world free from plastic pollutions. In today's episode, we will talk about the traditional practices, and the title is Traditional Practices versus Plastics. And for that, we have one of our advisors and a very dynamic personality, Dr. Shiraz Wajih, who is the founder of Gorakhpur Environmental Action Group. But before we dive in, here's a quick reminder. The views expressed here are for general informational purposes, and we encourage you to do your own research. We're here to spark ideas, inspire change, and navigate the complexities of plastic pollution. So, welcome, Dr. Wajih, to Planet versus Plastic podcast. With the very first thing, why don't you introduce yourself for the audience listening to this?
Thank you, Ramiji. I am Shiraz Wajih from the organization called Gorakhpur Environmental Action Group. We are based in UP but working in different parts of India. And we are a kind of implementing organization as well as also support and technical institution for providing the technical assistance on issues related to environmental conservation, climate change related aspects, adaptation, mitigation, and disaster resilience. So, in brief, that is my introduction. I worked with Gorakhpur University for a long time and have been part of Earth Day Network also in supporting the activities which Earth Day Network takes care.
Wonderful. And we have heard so much about you working with Earth Day and then on the ground, how you have been working with the farmers, not just in Gorakhpur. I mean, you're all around the world. When people go to COP, they talk about the organization, they talk about you. So, Dr. Waji, today's topic for podcast is traditional practices versus plastics. And so, would you like to shed a light on this topic, like how much the historical significance of using traditional methods, like we used to have leaves to pack seeds and then jute bags rather than all the plastic packaging that we see right now. So, would you like to emphasize a bit on how much importance it hold at that time and why we are like now switching, which is bad?
Okay. Yeah, Ramiji, I mean, if we think of humankind or man or women, we all are born with nature. And I mean, the history that tells that we have lived with nature, dependent on the natural systems for a very long time. And then the artificial activities, which is initiated by human being. One of the things was also agriculture, because agriculture was also one of the man-made, human-made kind of initiative which was done. But initially, we were dependent a lot on the natural systems. So even agriculture was dependent on the natural systems. And in eastern UP and most of the part in northern India, even in South India, one of the thing, taking examples from the agriculture activities, one of the thing is that even the farm system, when we say this farm as a system, that included the livestock, the farmer's home, and the agriculture field. So, I mean, this made the system which actually contributed to each other and complemented each other. The things, the products which are coming from
Yeah.
the livestock, going to the home, going to agriculture field in form of manure and so on. The same way, I mean, all these recycling processes amongst these three farm systems, I mean, that happened. In Eastern UP, we called it Ghar Khet Ghari. Ghar, khet, and gari is the livestock. So that was the traditional system which always worked. And in traditional system, we have been living with nature. In this process of agriculture, which is supposed to be the first human activity which was initiated for the production of the commodities which are required by the human being, that was also dependent a lot on natural things, natural ecosystems, and the ecosystem services. So that actually is inbuilt in the livelihood and the life of average human being, uh, which who exists today, and the tradition has been to live with the nature. And initially, it was kind of nature for the nature. I mean, we took things from the nature and we also replenished nature. So that was the kind of mechanisms which always worked. And if you think of the change in the agriculture system or the farming system, that came from the Green Revolution, if not earlier. And in Green Revolution, we gradually shifted to more kind of synthetic dependency, whether it is chemicals or it was machines or oil based fuel rather than fossil fuel. I mean, all this actually that shifted from in the Green Revolution phase was from the nature to more kind of synthetic product or machines or using more and more fossil fuels. And that actually changed. And that also, I mean, I can think of that in the post liberalization phase in India, the way plastic came in. And as we are talking on the plastics today, this plastic is actually was introduced in the post green revolution phase for packaging of the agriculture inputs, farm inputs, as well as for packaging the market for the product for the market. So the whole agriculture system gradually shifted to market, and because of which the plastics actually that was introduced in the farm system, agriculture system also. So as you said that the life which was quite pro-ecological in the beginning, if we think of the human civilization, that gradually shifted to more kind of dependency on the synthetic product or artificial products, and the activities which involved was also more kind of non-natural products also. I mean that came in non-natural inputs that came in. So that was the shift actually in the, if we say, the livelihood system of average Indian human being, or the shift in the societal pattern, the way things have changed. That has also been shifted from the natural system to artificial systems. Plastic being one of
Yeah.
the main thing actually.
You rightly said, like, our lives used to be pro-ecological. Even when I was a kid, there were some practices that our farmers used to do, and now it's all either they're getting it from the market, or they don't have choices, or it's easy. I mean, several reasons. But plastic is expanding in every sector of our lives. We have found microplastic in soil as well. I mean, it won't be late that we will be eating microplastic. We've already found it in fish, so it's a matter of time that we'll have plastic in almost everything. It has been found in babies, mother's milk. Dr. Waji, my second question would be that, as you mentioned, that it's not just the environmental aspect of using plastic and replacing the traditional practices. It also have a societal implication. So, what are those some of the examples that you, in your life experience, have seen when people have switched from natural things to plastic? What are those challenges you can see emerging, and you already knew, that's why you have been advocating for this? So yeah.
So, Dmitry, I mean, if I can think of the societal change, the mindset actually, I mean, that shifted to a consumerist society. Consumerism was kind of for the, because the whole thing actually was gradually shifting to the market, because the relationship between human being and the livelihood, that came via markets. So I mean that the market force actually, I mean that actually was quite important. I mean if we think of the way societies have changed, one of the thing is that even if we talk in, I mean, I was talking of agriculture. Earlier, it was mainly for the livelihood. People grew food for their own consumption, as well as selling the small thing actually which was left from the human consumption. But in Green Revolution and the post Green Revolution phase, we shifted for more production. That is one. But at the same time, the agriculture production became market centric, cash centric, income centric. And that actually needed storage, transport, packaging, and a number of activities to cater to the needs of the market. So that shift
Hmm.
actually from consumption based agriculture to market based agriculture, that required a lot of things actually which required storage, transport, packaging, and so on. And for that actually plastic was supposed to be one of the solution, easy solution, that you can store well in the plastic. Earlier we all had earthen pot for the storage of the food grains. We knew this. At the same time, the packaging was also done in the jute bags and so on. So all this actually
Hmm.
shifted from traditional system to plastic-based, so-called modern system. And in that process, we also evolved technologies, the technologies to cater to the market. And if we say the technologies, these technologies were mostly for production of the synthetic inputs, and the societal change actually which happened based more on consumerism as well as for the income, that necessitated the requirement of more artificial products. Art and plastic is one of them. An alarming situation. Now, when as you said, the breast milk, I mean, that was also reported to be affected by the plastic. The water actually, even the farm soil that has micro plastics which are available. So how are we going and how far will we go? There has to be some concern. There has to be some stop which will have to be implemented. So it's a very serious
Yeah.
situation actually which has come up, which maybe, I mean, when we started using the plastic, we had never even thought of that it will go to such a alarming situation.
Yeah, I recently joined one of your workshops, like GEAG workshop, that with the collaboration of the Network India and I believe in Noida, in a village near Greater Noida, and that was wonderful. How you also mentioned that it was all about an ecosystem, like the pet, the kheti and the ghar. Everything was an ecosystem. Each one is giving something to each one, and it was like a circle we are living in, a very sustainable circle. But now what is happening is that the main problem with the plastic is that it is coming into the ecosystem, but it is not going away, it is not degrading, it is not giving something to something. It's just most of the plastic is single use, and that is one of the major problem with plastic we have. But I'm sure that you might have witnessed several places in rural India especially where people have preserved these traditional practices as an alternative to plastic in this time as well. So, would you like to share some of the examples or stories which would be inspirational for all the people out there, not just in rural but in urban India? Taking from your example, like the urban pot, the earthen pot that we have. So, what are those examples that we still see? And now these are being portrayed as an alternative to plastic, but it was already there in our system.
So, Rubeji, as you talked on the ecosystems also, I mean, I think that is very important point to be thought of. If we see the agriculture in India, and if we talk of agriculture, we talk of small and marginal farmers, because that is the majority.
Yes,
In India, we have more than
yes,
90% of the farmers who have small landholding. So small and marginal farmers and the women farmers, that constitute the majority of the farming population. And if we see the agriculture system of this uh, group of farmers, the small landholding farmers, and the farm is dependent a lot on the ecosystem services. But over a period of time, this link or this integration of farm and the ecosystem, that has degenerated because of various reasons. And this degeneration has resulted into less valuation of the ecosystem services or the ecosystem. You go to any village and you will find that the water bodies are a common dumping ground for all the plastics, for all the waste actually which is coming from the village, that is gradually being dumped into the water bodies, for example, or the open spaces or the green areas. The green areas are becoming shrunken, the water bodies are in problem. There are good practices also which has happened, but largely this has happened because we didn't realize and we didn't recognize the whole role of the ecosystems which it provides for the livelihood of the human being and especially the farmers. And because of which the agriculture is becoming more synthetic, Agriculture is becoming more cost intensive, and agriculture is becoming more
Mm.
artificial. So all these things actually are very much important to be thought of. But as you said, there are good practices also, and the number of good practices. One other thing actually which I would like to highlight here is that, see, for us, the important point is that in agriculture, you increase the net gains, whether you increase the production or not. There are various methods of increasing the net gain. Either you increase production, or you reduce the input cost, or you reduce the losses. So by reducing losses and by reducing input cost also, you can increase the net gain. So the important point for the farmer is how to increase the net gain. So in that net gain process and in decreasing input cost, all the range of the non-chemical mechanisms like vermicompost or composting or azolla fodder or the small pot-based pesticide, all these things actually, I mean, the methods are available that can be very well used, and these are being used. And farmers have tried it, farmers have tested. I mean, we are not going to say that you have to try. It is from their knowledge, their traditional
Yeah.
knowledge actually, by which
Yes.
we have learned. So, I mean, it is only to take these
Yes.
practices back to the farmer that this was a good practice. This is a kind of backward farmers indication if we are using these practices, because now everybody recognizes that organic, non-synthetic is the fashion or the modern thing. It's not a uh,
Yes.
old or ritual system
Yeah.
by which a farmer can be named as, oh, पिछड़ा हुआ है. I mean, they are not, they are backward farmers. No, it is not. So
Yes.
these things are available. The thing is that if we survive and we revive these practices like biomanures, biorepellents, the biopesticides, the range of things actually which are available, and in the country, number of places actually these are being practiced, successfully practiced, used by the farmers.
That's wonderful. And I love this that you said, can you revive, if you can revive the traditional practices that was already there? It's becoming a new trend, but it was already a trend in our past, I mean, decades. So that's wonderful. And you also mentioned about, like, most of the farms in India are small, like small farms, and now women farmers are increasing. They are becoming the managers, new managers of farm, where the Earth Network India is also have this new initiative for women farmers, where they are trying to help the women who have small holdings of these farms, and they have very less idea how to go about it. And I know GEAG is working very well with us on that. So with this podcast, I think this is our wrap, and we have gained so much insights about how important traditional practices still are in our lifestyles, and we just need to revive it. So thank you so much, Dr. Shiraz, for joining us. It is always a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much, Rubenji. Nice talking to you.
And for the audience, remember, keep it green, keep it clean, and remember, every day is Earth Day.